Is the Sacramento housing market finally cooling down, or are we in for another year of rising home prices? Whether you're thinking about buying, selling, or just keeping an eye on the market here, it's crucial to know what's happening right now. So stay tuned because this update could impact your next move. I'm Jason Walter, your Sacramento real estate agent and licensed loan officer. With that said, let's begin today's video. There's a number of different resources and reports I want to share with you guys in today's video. The first one is actually from Redfin going over migration trends because Sacramento has been the #1 relocation city nationwide for months now. According to Redfin, this is for December 24 or December last year through February this year. Sacramento was the #1 location in which people are looking for houses to buy that they don't already live there. So it says here, of all the major US metros, Sacramento was the most searched for destination among home buyers looking to relocate for that time frame. Next came Phoenix, Cape Coral, Florida, Sarasota, and Las Vegas. Even though California, for the state as a whole, has the biggest migration outwards, Sacramento is leading the nation for migration going in. And looking at the trends for what people are searching for, San Francisco is the #1 city in which people are searching for a house for sale in Sacramento. After that was Los Angeles and Houston. In contrast, for people who are living in Sacramento and they want to relocate, the #1 destination is Dallas, Texas, followed by Boise, Idaho. So overall, this has been a common scenario we have been seeing so far. Of course, you guys all know I'm a real estate agent here in Sacramento. We've helped a lot of people relocate here, especially from the San Francisco Bay Area. And that trend is continuing, but it's not as great as it once was back in 2020 and of course 2021. Now, speaking of that, another deceleration here is home prices. Based on the median sold price here in Sacramento for February compared to February last year, it's up by 1.9%. We're at just under 490,000 right now. 1 year ago this time, we were at 481,000. So 1 year ago, we were up by 2.3%. Now we're up by 1.9%. So home prices still rising, but not rising as fast as they once did 1 year ago. In addition, if I zoom out over the past 5 years ago, our median sold price was just under 364,000. This means that home prices have increased a staggering 35% over the past 5 years. All right, so we're seeing a big increase in prices over the past several years, but again, we're seeing this deceleration over the past 1 year. Now, in regards to the number of houses that sold, it's down by 5.9% year over year. There was 253 houses that sold in Sacramento. And by the way, I'm going to share kind of like greater Sacramento area trends as well, because I believe Redfin only looks at the city of Sacramento, which would exclude, of course, Sacramento County, and of course would exclude areas like Folsom, El Dorado Hills, Rockland, Roseville, etc. So in any case, looking at this 1 year chart, you guys can see that home sales kind of tend to be at a low point in the winter months and then to peak around the spring home buying season, especially in May. Zooming out over the past 3 years, you can see this as well because May of 2023 was also the high point as well. And here I am making this video in mid-March, right before the onset of the spring home buying season. Here's something we also know as well is that days in the market is at 19 days, which is very, very fast. This is a time frame when you list your home for sale until you accept an offer from a home buyer. And of course, the house closes about 2 weeks after that. So anyways, it only took about 19 days on average to sell a house. That is a gain of 6 days compared to 1 year ago, because 1 year ago, it was at 13 days. Therefore, homes on average are still selling fairly quickly, but not nearly as fast as they did 1 year ago. Redfin also says this as well. How hot is the Sacramento housing market? According to them, it is very competitive. Many homes are getting multiple offers, with some waiving their contingencies. The average houses are selling about 1% below the list price and go pending in around 29 days on average. This is the average days in the market. The 19 days is the median days in the market, the middle number. However, when you look at hot houses though, they sell for about 2% over the asking price and go pending in around 8 days. The best way to describe this based on my own experience being an agent here in Sacramento is that houses that are updated that are not overpriced are selling very, very quickly, getting multiple offers and selling for over the seller's asking price. In contrast, houses that need a lot of work that are overpriced are just sitting in the market and again, becoming a stale listing. Let me share an example with you guys based on this house. I represented a buyer for this house. We placed an offer on it. This is in Land Park, Coast Park, a beautiful area. The asking price for this 4-bedroom, 2-bath, around 2,000 square feet was just over $1 million. We placed an offer for the asking price, and we were one of the lowest offers amongst the 8 offers they received. They also received 3 cash offers as well. So this house that just went pending last week will likely sell for much higher compared to the asking price. And the reason, of course, is because of this $1 million for this house. This location is right in line with current market value. And of course, this house is very much updated as well. As you guys can see, absolutely beautiful home that was updated just a few years ago. Has nice hardwood floors, updated painting, lighting, and of course, the kitchen is upgraded as well with all these fit and finishes that buyers are really looking for. So houses like these that are priced appropriately, they're beautiful, they're already updated, are selling very, very quickly here in Sacramento. Having said that, it's not like it is back in 2020 and 2021, where it's very challenging to get offers accepted. And I have data to support that. Go figure, right? So based on all the houses that did sell in Sacramento for the month of February, they sold for 99.6% of the seller's asking price. This means on average, out of all the houses that did sell, they sold for 0.4 percentage points less than the seller's asking price. This is way different compared to the spring home buying season of 2021 and 22. Back then, in 2022, homes on average sold for 4.6% over the seller's asking price. And now, of course, this is February, of course, but we're still selling below the seller's asking price at 99.6%. And back in May of 2021, homes on average sold for 4.8% over the seller's final list price. This is much different compared to May of 2024, for example, because back then homes were selling about 1.2% over asking, not 5% over asking. Now, of course, one of the main reasons why our housing market was in full swing in 2020 through early 2022 is because of this right here. Average 30-year fixed rates were around 3%. And actually, they did to about 2.7% back in December of 2020. And of course, you guys all know what happened in 2022. Rates started the year at around 3.2% and then skyrocketed all the way up until about 7% or over 7% by the time we hit November that year. And that shocked the housing market. It caused inventory to rise greatly. We saw a huge increase in price reductions, and therefore home prices actually decreased. However, ever since early 2024, the average 30-year fixed rate has been hovering around 7 to about 7.2%, with the exception of mid-September, late September last year, when the average rate dipped to about 6.0%. So big picture, what I'm saying is that rates have been high for over a year now. And because of this is causing our housing market kind of slow down a little bit because we're seeing fewer transactions. And also we're seeing houses on average selling for less than the seller's asking price. Speaking of that, here's a really good chart on Redfin's website looking at the percent of houses that are selling over asking, because that was at 41.9% this February, selling over asking. This, of course, means that around 60% sold at or below the seller's asking price. But at 42% this February, back in February of 2022, that percentage was 67%. So about 2/3 of houses that sold back then sold over asking. Now less than half are selling for over the seller's asking price. So it's still competitive, but of course not nearly as competitive when we had rates in the 3s, for example. Here's a really interesting dynamic we're seeing right now in the Sacramento housing market. And this is according to SacramentoAppraisalBlog.com, who is Ryan Lundquist, a local real estate appraisal, does a fantastic job sharing real estate market trends in the Sacramento region. I want to share this because this includes the greater Sacramento area. This is Sacramento County, Placer, Yolo, and El Dorado County, the greater Sacramento area. So this is a little bit messy, but it's really easy to kind of describe this. This line, of course, is this year, the total amount of houses for sale in the region. And below this line is post-COVID. This is 2021, 22, 23, and of course, 2024. Above here is pre-COVID levels. So in general, what we're seeing right now is that inventory levels every single month so far this year have been higher compared to any other year since at least 2021. But we're still lagging behind pre-COVID levels. So for example, as of March 1st this year, we have less than 3,000 houses for sale compared to around 4,000 during the same time frame in 2016 through 2020. Big picture, what this means is that because we have a lack of houses for sale, historically speaking, this is putting upward pressure on home prices, but to counterbalance that, due to this elevated environment regarding prices and mortgage rates, that is causing downward pressure on home prices, which is why we're seeing this deceleration of home prices over the past 1 year. Ryan Lundquist also provided this as well, looking at this February compared to last February in the Sacramento region. So the median sold price is at around $595,000. This excludes condos, by the way. I believe this number is more inflated or higher compared to Redfin's because I believe Redfin includes condos in their numbers. Anyways, based on this, the median sold price is up by 3.5%. Average home prices are up by 1%. The number of home sales is down 3.9%, and the month supply is at 2.4 months. 1 year ago is at 1.6, a strong seller's market in which sellers have an advantage over home buyers. And that's still the case at a relatively low level of housing inventory. Something that's very interesting to me as well is that only 18% of all home sales came from a cash buyer. Of course, much different compared to the San Francisco Bay Area, where they have a large share of cash buyers. But here, about 2 of every 10 houses that sell are from a cash buyer. So most people here are still using loans. This percentage, by the way, has been in the range of about 15 to 20% for years now. In addition, we still have a lack of distressed home sales, which of course are foreclosures and short sales. There's only 8 bank-owned sales, foreclosures, and only 6 short sales this February. This is wild because overall the total number of home sales was 1,196, yet we had only 15 distressed home sales. Therefore, foreclosures and short sales are virtually non-existent. That's been the commonplace for several years now. With that said, if you guys want to learn more about what's it like to live in the Sacramento region, check out this playlist right here. I did a lot of video tours and of course the pros and cons about living here. And of course, I lived here for over 40 plus years. With that said, I appreciate you guys so much. Have an amazing day and we'll see you in the next video.